Right, Dad?
Yeah, how you doing?
All is good, all is good. So today I'd like to speak about accountability. So as we said in the last few months, you've come on board for Picaroons and you've been acting as my business coach, but a big thing of the way I view you is my accountability coach.
Right.
Because you've been creating these accountability sheets. I know you offer this for many clients, and the accountability process you've been taking me through in only a few months has just massively helped the business and helped me in the way that I'm running it, both from the success and just from my own lack of stress I'm now feeling from having you on board. So what I wanted to know is, why do you think accountability is so important?
That's such a great question. Well, the reality is, don't have any and see how you get on. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if we could make all of those around us accountable, but we're not?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. And accountability can simply be a mindset that helps you achieve. Now, I don't think people really desire being held accountable.
No, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
No, it's not. And I think it's not for everybody. But I do think from experience and a lot of people I speak to that I think it's a necessity if you want to get on, if you want to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, who holds us accountable? If it is just us, it's so easy to, at worst, quit. It's very easy to procrastinate. And I do love when you once spoke to me and said, but Dad, when you didn't write those chapters of your next book on that day, what were you doing? And I said, well, I did this and I did that. And sure, I made 2 or 3 cups of tea and avoided coming back in the office, but I did it. And you said, but that's positive procrastination. Yeah. I thought that was amazing, actually. But you can't keep continuing to do positive procrastination, stopping you do what you really want to do. I love being held accountable. But I think the key to this is, what am I being held accountable for? And secondly, who am I being held accountable by? Because, for example, as you know, I mentor you, I coach you, and I work with you, and you help our company with our branding and getting out there in the right way. For me, it helps you, would you agree, focus on the activities that you need to be doing now to achieve the results that you want to achieve for a few months' time. We're not talking about 6 years' time, 5 years' time. We're talking about, this is what I plan to achieve in the next 12 months. Okay, fantastic. If that's what you want to do, then what are those stepping stones? And as you know, I like to work in kind of 3 months kind of segments, if you like. So what are we working on now? What actions and activity do we need to be doing now for this particular quarter? And I'd recommend all of our listeners to consider this. Okay. What actions do we need to be doing, and where would we like to be or need to be in 3 months' time that keeps us on the journey to achieve our goal for 12 months' time? So I have an accountability buddy. And when you use the word buddy, that for the right person, that's someone that loves me. It's someone that cares about me. It's someone that, if you like, I've asked for their time so they can hold me accountable. It's no effort for them, because we literally, with my accountability buddy, who's a very, very personal friend of mine, we actually have a call arranged for once a month, as well as speaking as mates in the week and everything. But this is particularly an accountability call. And that call suits us both. We arrange it for an evening, 5 p.m. It suits us both. So it's when it suits. I will have sent him a list of, we do ours monthly, therefore, but it's a 3-month goal. Within the next month, I will have secured a speaking event with this particular company who are talking with me at the moment. Within this next month, I will have written 3 more chapters in my next book. Within the next month, and some of you might like this, I will have removed this client who I don't want to work for anymore. For example, within the next month, this would be my health goal. And that's really important here, because we all know that if we're healthier, we will be stronger to do our work. So this will be my health goal. And it might be I will have done 5 of these particular exercise programs, or it will be I will have cut out, you know us with food.
Yeah.
I will not be eating mayonnaise for the next month. And for those that are listening, I don't just eat mayonnaise, but I will not be having mayonnaise on anything in the next month. I aim to reduce my body fat.
Yeah.
It depends on where you all are, but it will be personal things. It could be simply something as daft as I will have booked the dentist that I keep talking about. So things that we want to do that no one holds us accountable for, so they don't get done, but they're important. And I think that's the point. So I want to do these things. I'm not forced to do these things, but by speaking to him each month, it is literally an update. And if I've got an excuse, it has to be a good one, or I'm wasting his time.
Yeah.
I actually didn't achieve this one of the 7, but the reason I didn't is because this is what happened. And again, as you said, if that was not even procrastination, if that was a good thing or something out of our control, perfectly acceptable. And then again, I will update those. This is what I'll now do in the next month. And he does this with me as well. Now, therefore, it's 2 accountabilities. 1, choice. I want to be accountable. What I think a lot of people don't like is being held accountable by, if you like, someone more senior than them in business that's telling them, I'm holding you accountable. But if we think about it, what really should we be, if you like, worried about or even annoyed about? Because let's say the person that's more senior than us in business is holding us accountable, and it's not with good intent, as in it's about their results.
Yeah.
Again, why would I be concerned or worried if what I'm being held accountable for is perfectly acceptable? In fact, it wouldn't worry me at all, because I'd be doing that anyway. If I'm being told that I'm being held accountable for something that's unreasonable, something that perhaps is a high risk, and I'm not involved in that, then of course I'm going to have challenges with that.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And I think that's a really good, there's so many things in that you said that are very, very interesting. I think the one that I want to delve in more for the listeners is your process. So where you said about with your buddy, where you have this accountability call, what does that call look like?
Well, it in this case, it's a really personal friend. I think if you choose to consider having an accountability buddy, it has to be, if you like, enjoyable. But I just take the attitude, I can't waste his time. It's an hour of his time. So it's very little how are yous at the beginning, because he's one of my best and longest friends. So longest doesn't mean he's tall, by the way, just in years. So because I've known this guy for years, and we speak regularly and we see each other, it is specifically aimed at, well, these are the 5 things that I said I'll achieve in the next month. Okay, or in the last month, or the 2 things, or the 4 things. And I'd like to run through them, because also I give him permission. And this is the point with the accountability that you want and you seek, you have to do it in a way that suits you. He has full permission to say to me, do you think that's the right thing you should be doing? Because the ultimate goal is the 12-month goal, which breaks down into, well, this is what I need to achieve in the first quarter, and then the second quarter and third quarter. So there might be something I'm doing, and he'll say something like, do you think that should be a priority in this month? It may be something where as you've heard, we had a big family celebration birthday wise, and that took a few days out of the business. So he questioned me on, you have some fantastic thoughts for what you'd like to achieve in this first month. But I also know that you have this on personally. You're out of the country training some companies on sales. You're not going to be doing much then. Is that realistic? And I have to be honest, I thought, well, you're right. I fell into the trap of putting pen to paper and said, I'd like to do three more chapters of my next book. I'd like to achieve this in my health and fitness. I'd like to do this. I'd like to book that. And it was kind of, I only have X amount of days left that I'm in the country and not already committed to consultancy and mentoring calls. So it was fantastic that I was actually able to say to him, that's a really good point. So maybe I should leave that off, and I could definitely do that in the month after. So it's just that sounding board, but it's got to be someone that cares. And in a perfect world, if you're searching for it, try and search for somebody that you respect, that just has that little bit more knowledge because of age, because of years in business, but just somebody that has somebody better than you in an ideal world. Now, obviously, if two of you are hearing it, one's got to be better than the other, or at least at a level. But somebody that's prepared to push you, and I don't mean to push you to more than what you want, push you to achieve what you want and not allow you to, I'm looking for the words, not allow you to, if you like, again, procrastinate, use excuses, give up on it. They will hold you to account. And, for any of us, well, the older I get, the fitter I used to be, but for any of us that do have that kind of sports mentality, imagine, please, you've taken on a personal trainer. You haven't taken on a personal trainer to stay as you are. You've taken on a personal trainer to become fitter, healthier. Okay. How many of us have kind of done those 10 push-ups that they've asked us to do? It's relatively comfortable, so you make 8 and 9 sound tough. I mean, I know for you 8 and 9 is tough, but you're kind of going 8, 9, 10. And they say, oh, great. And you think, I've got away with that. And they say, right, now another 10.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, you so-and-so. But you do another 10, you're annoyed with them for a moment, but actually you walk out of that training session thinking, that was good. They pushed me.
Yeah. And what do you think then in that sense the difference is between accountability buddy or coach and a mentor? Because when you said about looking for someone who's more skilled than you or got more experience, I'm thinking of, well, a mentor might be someone more experienced, but then all they're going to do is teach me. Whereas actually what I found, and we will get into a bit later more about you as my official, not just buddy, like I'm not paying you because we've done this deal, like you said, where Pickering's helps you, you help us. But and if in your official role, because I know you do it for other businesses as well, where you act as an accountability coach.
Yes.
What's the difference between being an accountability coach and just a mentor, just sharing your thoughts and actually working with me, holding me to account? What do you see that as? I think
both of them can interlink and intertwine, to be honest with you. And for me, there's only a slight variation, in fairness. I have many clients that are business owners, and they don't really have anyone to run their thoughts past. Quite often they talk to their team and their team go, yes, boss, that's a great idea. When the business owner is thinking, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But some of them are strong in character, that their team, their staff might be a bit concerned in questioning them, I work for a lot of clients that use me, if you like, as a bit of a sounding board once a month. That would be more mentoring with a lot of them, where I have the experience in areas that they would like opinions run by. So I would be talking to them about doing it this way, perhaps considering not doing it that way, or perhaps coming up with the thoughts of doing it that way seems a good idea, but have they considered some of the pitfalls? And it's kind of holding their hand a little bit more through. Being an accountability partner is actually turning it into the final piece of action. So you can either say, does that help you? And you say, yeah, that's great. Thanks very much. That's all I need. great, lovely. Speak to you next month. Let me know how I can help. I'm a great believer that if people would then end mentoring, and it should really happen like this with, okay, so what are we going to do because of today?
Yeah.
Literally, what are we going to do because of today? That's like, well, that's a good point. And we agree what action will be taken from today, but then on our next call, which is arranged rather than just, I'll wait to hear from you, we first start off with, well, this is what we said we would do in the last month. I haven't heard from you to the contrary. So have we done that? And they're held accountable. If not, it's like, okay, why? What's gone on? But remember, this is mutually agreed. So it's not a kind of parent-child relationship. Yeah. It's very much a kind of the sounding board of, look, this happened, I understand why, etc.
Yeah, and I wanted to hear that from you because it's interesting how you frame it, because we've been working together in that sense. And that's absolutely what I've found, is that it's not my goals. It's my goals, which I've run by you and sense checked, and you've mentored me to the right goals. But this one, does that work? But then it's not right, go off and whatever, go on. It's like, okay, well, next month, where are we at with that goal? And where you've really helped me is, and there's a saying, I don't know where I read it, but it's that accountability is not only what we do, but also what we do not do, for which we are accountable.
I love that.
And it's about, you've really helped me where I took on so many projects, especially towards the end of last year, not just Pickeroons, but outside of Pickeroons, some side businesses, another book idea, producing other podcasts, this podcast. You helped me go, actually, those are the ones that don't need to be done. Not ever, but they don't need to be done yet. And I've actually got a folder which says to revisit for 2023.
And you
December.
have to be careful with that, because there's to-do lists. They end up going on the still to-do list. They end up being tidied going, this was a to-do list, but I don't really want to get rid of it. So this is possibly a still to-do list. Yeah. And then it's, so why did I do this, have this still to-do list? And I'm sounding confusing because it's like, hang on a minute, a year later, some of these to-do things are still on my desk.
And that then becomes stressful, depending on what type of mindset you are. But from a lot of business owners and people I've spoke to, it becomes stressful that you're going, I've been on this for ages and haven't done anything with it.
Yes.
So it's much nicer, it's a much better feeling to be being accountable and going, actually, that one doesn't need, that goes, and we've got this accountability sheet, which again, we'll speak about in a bit. But on my accountability sheet that I go through each month with you, I've still got some of those things, but now they're in the, where has anything happened? We're not going to, in our session, in our 1 hour session, sit down and go, where's this one at? But what we are going to do is, has anything happened? Because the nature of when you're someone with multiple interests, multiple things, the nature is I might say to you, oh, Dad, this month I actually met this person who's potentially has a good lead to me for that other business. But then what's nice is these accountability sessions, you go, okay, good. So have the meeting with them. But remember, that's not able to be at the expense of one of these other things, which is the priority. And it's been a big thing for me, is you've really helped me prioritize what I should be focusing on and when I'm someone with multiple things to be thinking about. And again, I keep going back to it of, for anyone considering getting an accountability coach, and obviously I'm biased, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you should definitely speak to Dad. For me, my thing is that reduction in stress as a business owner, that reduction in where am I? Oh my God, there's 100 things. Which one do I look at? This is helping me go, right, next month, these are the ones I need to look at. And if I can do those, great. But actually, these are the ones that have to be done. And then I've got it in my diary a few days before we have our call to go and revisit the accountability. So I think you had one in a previous session when you spoke about the airline. Do you remember that one? When you said
yes, a plane takes off at Heathrow, if you like, wherever, to go to LA, Los Angeles. It's not focusing on Los Angeles. Every millisecond, if that's such a word, on the journey, the plane's computer is, am I on the right line? Am I on the right line? And in fairness, it's never going on a perfectly straight line. It's blown off course a degree. It's going on to the right degree. And it's forever adjusting that gets it back onto that center line that helps it arrive at LA on schedule.
And that's where I feel like you're coming in for me of helping things every time it goes. Because if I wasn't speaking to you every month, and again, let's even ignore if it was you, if we had anyone in business from working with you, I would suggest looking at an accountability coach.
Definitely.
You said it earlier, it's very lonely running a business because there's no one, when you're the top person, there's not always people that are going to call you out.
Well, I have, Bearing to Count, I help companies and individuals all over the world with this. So if any of our listeners would like to reach out, very happy to talk to you about helping you and your company to achieve this. So if you can imagine, and I know I don't know how much I still have to know, but I know a lot.
Yeah.
I have an accountability buddy and I also have a coach. And both of those I speak to on a monthly basis. So I'm not saying to our listeners, if I can have one, so can you. That could be misheard. But in a way, I am saying, if I can have one, so can you.
I think everyone should have. I'd imagine that every person, I now from doing it with you, I couldn't imagine anyone in any business who doesn't have a person who's in a high-performing business holding them accountable, because otherwise, I mean, we've said this across multiple episodes, when you're running a business, you're very busy and you're always becoming busier. With growth comes more busyness. And I love that analogy of the plane, that it's just that constant, don't forget about that thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If otherwise things would stay on my to-do list and there'd be no way of me, do you know what would be on the to-do list? Revisit the goals, revisit what's happening. And the only time I ever get a chance to do that is in December of each year.
I have an interesting thought with to-do lists, which I'd like to share. I mean,
yeah.
First of all, everyone has to understand the difference between urgent and important. Okay. They can be both. Something can be urgent and important. Something could be urgent, but in the cold light of day, it's not actually important. It might be important to someone else, but it's not actually that important. Likewise, it could be something that's important, but it's not urgent. So people need to kind of analyze that, and that will help them prioritize. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, let me ask you a question. Do you have, I would imagine, some form of to-do list, yeah?
Yeah, I use Trello.
Okay.
Trello's everything's on there.
Okay, so your to-do list is on Trello. I like visuals. I think Trello's good, but my to-do list is actually created on Post-it notes. And this is a really interesting technique. Imagine, please, that you took everything off of Trello for a minute, and let's say you had 20 things on your to-do list, and you put each one on a different Post-it note, and you put all of those Post-it notes exposed on a table, so you can now see all 20. I guarantee you that when you see them like that, you'll probably be able to think, do you know what? That's actually not important. It's really not going to make any difference at all, actually. If I never did that, and this is the moral of this one, if I never did that, will I be any worse off? Because sometimes we look at a to-do list, we never think about it as if I never did that, would I be worse off? A great example. Somebody yesterday recommended a good book for me to read. The reality is I have 100 books at home still unread. I'm not saying I haven't read any. Yeah. I have 100 still unread. Because I coach, I speak at events, I train, I get offered, if you like, new titles quite a bit. They go on my to-do list.
Yeah, I've done the same before.
Okay, well now what I do, I've actually created a file in my computer in the folder section that says books recommended.
Yeah, I've got one as well.
It's a good way of doing it.
Books to read.
When's the last time you looked at that books to read file?
3 years ago.
Great. Okay. I also can't remember.
Stopped reading. I said I actually can't read anymore because there's where do I start? So I'm going to have year or two off. This is part of the accountability you're working with is very much on the business.
Yep.
But I do see that in the future, as we're working towards giving me more time, that then part of that accountability will be, right, did you do your 1 hour of reading twice a week, as we said?
Absolutely.
But right now, that's not something that's going to go on the accountability sheet.
And that's perfect because actually, could you benefit from doing some more reading?
100%.
Right. Are you any worse off at this moment? Because sometimes lack of knowledge is a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you any worse off at this moment knowingly if you didn't read?
No, I don't know. But it was an active thing. It was if I read exactly that with all these multiple businesses that are in launch or early phase,
Yeah.
I'm reading something. I'm going, oh, that could be a good thing for chats with dad. Man, that could be good for that over there and over there. And it goes back to that overwhelming. Whereas if I was to go, right, this is my 1 hour reading with the outcome of I'm going to read a book on productivity so that I can increase the success of Pickeroons. That'd be my outcome. And again, why am I looking at increasing the success of Pickeroons? Because as part of our accountability sheet, I need to grow Pickeroons by X amount this quarter.
Yeah.
And that's where this thing of the actions, when you're a business owner, when you're doing so many actions spread across so many things, these accountability sessions are really helpful in going back to the very core basics and going, okay, not just, and that's why you said before about the difference in mentor and accountability. The accountability buddy maybe says, well, maybe do this. But you as my coach or whoever your coach listeners may be, or you choose to have in the future, the thing I found is that you're helping me not just on, okay, yeah, actually, I've done nothing about that this month, but you're then working with me going, so what could we do? So that by next month, whatever was the problem the previous month isn't a problem anymore. And that's where I'm really finding a lot of use from this.
Well, that's where also an accountability buddy or the right accountability buddy is good, because there's times when neither of you have the answer, but you now have someone at a similar level or higher that's actually kind of brainstorming with you. And that's something fantastic. I mean, I kind of thought a second ago when you were talking about the concept of I mean, you love reading. Okay. And it's always been of great benefit to you. But imagine, please, we talk about the flights from Heathrow to LA. Imagine, please, that you're a pilot and you've read numerous books about the journey from Heathrow to LA and what you could be looking along the journey and enjoying the sights and everything. You're on that journey now, but in your hand, you're reading a book saying Heathrow to India.
Yeah.
Is that going to be beneficial? Of course it is. Now? No, you're going to LA. So it's something that you need to be able to understand what to put on the back burner. If you never read another book again, but here's the point, because the journey you are currently on is the right journey and everything's going the way you want, sometimes we can strive to be better when we're not good enough at the moment. Okay, when we're good enough at the moment. So be patient. Be patient on this journey.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of really important thing to say. So for me, I put all my to-dos, each one on a different Post-it note, and then I look at them and I think, do you know, if that never got done, it's actually not the end of the world. And I literally, why I say Post-it note is I literally put it in the bin.
Yeah.
And it might be something that this would be good for me. But actually, when? When? I'm not going to, don't have a plan in your business. And if you like, go off at 11 o'clock, direction of LA. And then you read a book and say, oh, actually, do you know something? Perhaps we should just turn off and go to India, with all respect to our Indian friends. Right, let's divert. Why? Your original reason to go there was correct. So stay on plan.
And that's the accountability, that when there's so many things coming in all the time, new things, new challenges,
social media.
No, I'm actually from a business point of view.
Of course.
How many times do we have conversations and you say, oh, this is an option? I go, I can't take any more thoughts on at the moment. That's why.
What about a new client? I mean, this is an interesting one, isn't it? A new inquiry comes in and it's a fantastic opportunity and someone's saying, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? But I'll work it out. Do you know, there might be ways, ladies and gentlemen, of just delaying it slightly. Someone else's timescale.
Yeah, timescale.
That is the right word.
Timescale. Yeah,
timeframe. That's the word I was looking. Someone else's timeframe, isn't necessarily correct. And I kind of say that again. Someone might say, I need something done within the next 2 months. When you actually investigate, it probably would wait another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not saying definitely, but it's don't buy into someone else's urgency. Investigate that urgency so that you, as you say, don't get swamped and ended up taking on something that makes you average in everything.
And that goes back to, again, the accountability of, and you've said this to me, what if the most unbelievable opportunity comes in, you'll find time? Yes, but if I've got 5 or 6 different streams of business interest and there's 3 opportunities coming in every single one, and what a fortunate position to be in, by the way, but still doesn't make it any less of a struggle. Which one do I concentrate on? And which one do I put them back? And that's where this accountability is helping of, if right now my main goal is to grow pickeroons as opposed to some of the other things, that means when the opportunities come in the other things, as exciting as they might be, yep, I'll speak to you in a couple of weeks. Because right now, the pickeroons one is, I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Yeah. All you do is make an appointment for a couple of weeks and explain why. Always from a positive standpoint.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, look, here's a fantastic line. You're better off being excellent at less than average or poor at more.
Yeah, it's having a specialism. But then even then you can have a specialism and there can be, this is my view on content marketing and what I'm doing, I've got a very clear specialism, but under that specialism, there's still 5 or 6 different business banners and things I'm doing, which aren't interlinked, which then means it's like, okay, they're all beneficial. Which ones, whilst I'm in this early stage, do you invest?
That's where having a second pair of ears is.
Because I'm finding that a lot of people I'm speaking to from content marketing, when I do my consultancies, a lot of those business owners, and especially when I work with some community interest companies and charities, there's some unbelievable people working in those. But for a lot of them, they're not doing one thing. It's not like, especially as a charity or CIC, the community interest companies, so I call them CICs. There's someone who is the marketing director, the finance director, and they're also trying to increase the donations, and maybe even they're one of the founders. And maybe they're doing some consultancy on the side to bring income in. So I've worked with a lot of those from a content marketing perspective. What I do is help people say, I've got 25 businesses on, which ones do I speak about online and where without confusing it? But where I need the help, and it's funny because even though I do that for people on a communication standpoint, on the actual planning, which one of my own are the priority, that's where I've been struggling and where your help, or if it was any, I think you are exceptional at it, but I think any accountability coach, any accountability buddy, having someone or a sheet, because I've seen processes, I've seen accountability sheets before, and I'm telling you, and I'm sure there's many business owners thinking like this, I was going to fill it in every month. But without a person going, when are we having that meeting? Without a meeting booked in, I could put it in my diary, but that was something that I was always going to put off. And as a result, like you said, the plane went like that.
Yeah, a good accountability buddy for the right purpose will not allow it to be put off. Or I've had it before where I've been asked to kind of be a sounding board for somebody each month, because you can call it what you like. And the first 2-3 months, really, they've had excuse after excuse, people I've known. And in the end, I said, look, I'd love to help you and I want to help you. But a great thing I talk about often is ownership.
Yeah.
Do you accept this isn't really working for you? Like, well, yes. Okay. Is it me or is it you? I always say, is it me or is it you? And they say, it's us. Okay. Are we prepared to change? Or do you need somebody else? Or because this isn't working for me because I'm not helping you and holding you to account, which is what you wanted. So you've got to investigate it, but it has to be, it's tough love sometimes.
It's really tough. I think that's and you know that I've always been a case of jumping head on into criticism because I know that helps me. And I can't remember, I said something once that was quite a good line. I remember it. It was, I said, like, when I get feedback, it hurts my ego, but it helps my pockets.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it's filling, and it might be a better way of me saying it eventually.
No, that's nice, but it also depends on, again, I repeat, it also depends on who's giving you feedback, okay, and why, and when, and how. See, being an accountability buddy, being a mentor, those come into it. So it's very important that you choose someone that cares about you, cares about your business, that will challenge you out of love, not for any other reason. And also they match your personality. If
But I
someone's a
think
strong
that's why
personality,
you're so good because look, one, you're my dad, which obviously means you care.
of course.
But I've seen you do it with enough other clients as well that I know for you, it's because you genuinely care about having a positive effect on people's businesses.
Very important
Which
to me.
is why you're not worried, and I hope this has definitely come across in the podcast for all our listeners, that you're not worried about tough love.
No.
Because it comes from the love part.
Yeah.
But the tough love doesn't change, and it's why I do struggle sometimes, but in a good way, because we have that relationship of both, yes, you're my accountability coach, and I know you do tough love, but you are also my dad. So it is like when you call me out on things or there's that, it does hit the ego. And Ruth, who I've spoke about before, who's almost been like a mentor to me in years before, and she's helped with Pickeroons, and we're working on her book together, and she's always called me out on things. And every time it rips me apart to get that feedback. I don't care how confident people might be. Like when someone says you did this and it's really not good, or this is rubbish, or that came across this way, and you think, oh, no, I meant it. It's very, very tough. But every time, whether it's that day, the next day, or even weeks after, I go, okay, knowing that tore me down, but built me back up. And I feel like that's your style, is you're not trying to break it, but you're trying to help me. And I think anyone, you always say, are you coachable?
I think one of the things people need to realize, I mean, Ruth is amazing. We love her, right? Well, she's amazing. But we also know that when you talk about having accountability in your life by choice, it's you that decides what you want to be held accountable for. That's really, really important here. So, when you're asking for Ruth's feedback, and she's brilliant at that because she cares for you. So it's not about the style that either Ruth, myself, or anyone else has. That anyone could question that. But you're saying, this is what I want to do. Okay. A good mentor, a good coach, a good accountability buddy will just question it if it's, why do you want to do that? Is that what you should be doing?
Yeah.
And if all is agreed, then it's okay. So what are you thinking of doing? Now, they should only come in and say, could I make a suggestion on that? But it's actually driven, if you like, if it's a mentor situation, it's driven by the mentee, not the mentor.
Yeah.
That's kind of important.
So I think maybe two questions which are similar. The first one is, what do you think makes a good accountability coach? What personality traits do you think people should look for? And as I said, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'd say they should all be going to you. If they weren't going to, if they're in another country or for whatever reason, or I suppose another country they could do over Zoom, but for whatever reason, what should someone look for in a good accountability coach? What traits should that person have?
That's a great question. I think, like everything, they've got to resonate with the personality. Okay. And by the way, as from myself, when I'm taking a client on or wanting to help somebody, I have a very competitive attitude. I mean, once we've decided what we want to achieve and we've agreed that what we want to achieve is the correct thing, then I am resilient. I personally am resilient. I am personally determined. And ultimately, I'll keep you on track. But we will have the personality, as we do, where you might say, but, and after hearing you, which I would, I'd then say, look, I hear what you're saying, but in this case, that's not the case. And like we do, we have fantastic discussions around that. And it's not one's right, one's wrong, but we actually kind of are open enough to say, no, that's a really good point. Because again, you're coming from a good place. So I think matching personalities, there are people that, if you like, using a getting fit analogy, that just want, oh, that's really good. That's really good. Just another few. And there's someone like me that says, come on, we're going to get another few done. You can do that. You can do that. You're not going to quit on it now, are you? And just saying that to me is like, no, I'm not going to quit on it now. So it's understanding the personality, what language works for you, and resonating with that. But you want someone that matches you and that will push you. So if you're a determined guy. So actually, respect to you, it's very easy for me. Also, you determine mutually agreed outcomes. So you heard me say a story when we were talking about cash flow in one of our podcasts, and I was saying what from our relationship, what outcome would be a success for you? Because if I don't know how I'm helping you, then we don't know if it's successful. So one person may require one thing and different from another, and everyone differs. It's my importance is that whoever I work with, whoever I support, I make a difference to them and I help them become successful, which is happiness. Okay. Slightly different in yours because, as we've always said, if I can help you become more successful, then as you've often said with Natasha, our daughter, I and mum will end up in a better nursing home.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a bit of a different incentive to help you become successful. Yeah. I'm invested in my future nursing home. So I think that's very important. Look, we often use sporting analogies, you and I, don't we? We should relate that to business. Tiger Woods, number one player, number one golfer in the world, had a permanent coach. There isn't a professional at high level, anything that doesn't have a coach. It'll be a coach on mindset, be a coach on nutrition. If anything, the more wealthier they get, the more coaches they'll actually have, but for different areas of everything.
And it's funny because I always used to think, why do they need a coach? Because they're the best in the world. But now you come to realize, as you said, it's not actually about that coach teaching them something they didn't know. It's about that coach holding them to account on the things they know. You're not hitting the ball right. You're not hitting how you normally hit it. The coach isn't saying to them, have you thought about doing this? And they go, I've never thought of that. You're much better than me. You should be the one here. The coach is there. And it's funny I'm thinking of different sports. Sometimes the coaches aren't even that unbelievable at the sport.
Oh,
they're just good at spotting what the others are or aren't doing. Or I remember we watched the Last Dance. And we speak about that a lot. We loved it. The Michael Jordan won Chicago Bulls, and they spoke about that coach. And do you remember with Dennis Rodman when it was like Dennis Rodman was all a bit of a hippie, and how that coach approached him? The difference in, I can't remember his name, but the main coach of the Chicago Bulls, how he approached Dennis Rodman compared to how he approached Michael Jordan, how he communicated with both of them to get the best out of them. And keeping on that sports analogy, that's the way that I'm viewing you in the business is there's no one analyzing me as the one running the business. And you're that person who's helping me. Like you said, I'm bringing to you, here's what I want to do next. Here's my vision. Here's my next big idea. Here's where I want to go. But you're just helping me do those logical steps to get the best out of what I know I could do. And that's where I think for anyone, I'd say, get those business coaches, get those accountability coaches, because I think, as you said, it doesn't matter how determined you are. If you don't have someone or a meeting booked in with another member of your team, you said before, it hasn't even got to be someone more senior. It might just be another member of the team. Maybe you've got a business partner. Maybe you have accountability calls with each other. But I think something that just holds you to account and being open, I don't want to say to being cussed out, but to being called out.
Well, you're right. But also a good coach. I mean, me, okay, using me. You might say, I want to talk about this today, and I'll ask you why. So we have an allocated hour. Why? Because of this, this, and this. And yet on my mind, because obviously I now understand your business, as I do with many clients, I'm then saying, there is something I do want to include in our conversations. And if it's something that I think I want to include on our next call, I'll send you a message saying, I want to talk to you about cash flow on our next call. We can extend the call to include
a few times.
Yeah, because otherwise it's, as you said before, when we talked about cash flow in one of our previous podcasts, you talked about, oh my goodness, Dad, I've got this inquiry and I've got this new client and I'm working on this, I'm working on that. I'm saying, okay, you know the £20,000 that you're owed at the moment, who's chasing that?
Yeah.
Well, yes, I know, Dad, but can we get back onto I'm working? Yeah, no. Who's chasing that?
Good, and it's tough.
What do we have as a process that money that's owed could be chased, allowing you not to worry about it? What can we do? Who can we put in place? So that, if you like, even though you kind of think, but I don't want to talk about that, but yeah, it is important.
But you know what I like, which is strange, and I might not communicate this in the right way, but I like in that when I'm difficult with you in those sessions, when you say things like, no, I don't want to talk about that, or no, but, or I get defensive, I really enjoy, not during the session, but after and before, the fact that I can be all over the place when I'm speaking to you. And
Absolutely.
Poor Ruth, with all the conversations she's had to me, I know there's been many times she's worried about what am I going to go and do, because you're the people that I can be all over the place. I can be honest. I can say, no, not that. I'm not trying to think, how are you going to take this? Because you are a client. And I'm not saying to any of my clients, I'm losing control, but in front of you, I'm holding it together. But what I mean is, when I've got those accountability calls is when I can go, I'm not sure how to do this.
Has James, this is very interesting. Has our Ruth, has she ever, I'm going to take a gamble here and I think I'll be right. Okay. And we'll have a laugh if I'm right.
Yeah.
Has Ruth, in all of your sessions with her,
it's not really sessions with her, but it's more like they've been more just ongoing. She's mentored me and given chats.
Ruth is a great mentor, right?
Yeah.
In any of your, I'm going to call it sessions for a minute.
Yeah.
In any of your sessions with Ruth, has she ever said something like this to you? James, just shut up for a minute.
Every 2 minutes.
Okay. So I gambled that, okay?
Yeah, every 2 minutes.
Right. And that is why...
That's why we couldn't work at the Barbican, because we'd end up shouting at each other so much. Because then I go, no, but I think... And she's like, no, shut up. And I'm like, but I think... And that's where...
Do you respect Ruth?
So much.
Do you value her knowledge?
More than anything.
Do you know she cares?
Yes.
You know she loves you and she can help you.
Yeah.
So you are going to say, no, but, and she's going to go, James, shut up. You're going to go, no, but, and you're going to go, James, shut up. And what will you then do?
Shut up.
Right. Because she's perfect and she loves you, she cares, she's lovely.
And that's the same with you.
Well, I thank you for that, but I couldn't say. I was just waiting for you to say.
Yeah, but that's the same.
That's how you match. Now, Phil Berg, if any of you are considering reaching out for me, if you're not a determined character, if you're not
willing to be coached is a big one for you.
And prepared to achieve what you want to achieve, if it's going to be a tough journey, don't reach out to me.
Yeah.
Don't reach out for me. I'm the wrong person for you. That's not an insult to you. I'm the wrong person for you. That's the difference.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, is to find that. And not everyone's going to want to be like me in that. Well, more people than anything won't want to be like me in that, where you do just go, I'm willing to be ripped apart here. But I've personally found, advice I would give to people is that it's like therapy almost. That accountability coach is when you can go, I'm not coming to you saying, Dad, I'm all over the place. But it's more, I'm not trying to be right when I speak with you. I'm not trying.
No, but what you are, which is
right.
fantastic. And that's why, forget you're my son. When you kind of do the but, you're not doing but from a rebellious position. If you like, you're not computing with what we're talking about at that moment. And because of that, you're kind of challenging it. But it works both ways in the relationship. You have a coach that understands your personality. I know you do but, and I'm okay with that. And I know when to just ease off. Like it's enough, because your style actually is afterwards. You said it before, and I thought it was fantastic. You went, I didn't enjoy it. And then afterwards I thought, yeah, do you know what? That's good. And then you start plotting your next move. So it has to be, whenever I'm working with a new client, I at first I'm talking about style. This is what's going to happen. It is this.
I think openness, that's the main, because my second question was going to be, what does a client need to be? But we've kind of covered this in this of what your traits need to be coachable. But I think
so.
Openness to not hold, like I tell you everything, like you said, where Ruth says, James, shut up. James, don't do that. It's because with you guys are the ones that I can say, here's a big wild idea with no repercussions. Because the only repercussion is you're going to tell me for the 100th time, shut up, don't do that, don't be daft, because that doesn't fit this other thing you're doing.
But we will have also, over time, proven ourselves to you that if we are, in a working relationship with two people, the relationship part is important. It will take a little bit of time for, if you like, let's say you, but not as in you as a person, but a client of mine to kind of go, do you know what? Actually, no, he's right. Which then eases the next type of conversation.
Yeah.
So we all have to earn each other's respect. We
and trust.
all have to earn the trust, and we all have to earn the right. But pick who resonates with you. Have an open and honest conversation at the beginning about what outcome you want, and have a very open and honest conversation about how it's going to work. What do you like? I mean, a good question I would say is, if I say something you do, I mean, I often turn around and say, look, there'll be times when I'm going to share my opinion. When I share my opinion, I'm very happy not to be correct, but it will be my opinion. There will be things where from experience, I'll say to you, don't do that. Okay. If you then choose to do that, I'm okay about that. But it'll be recorded. I've said, don't do it. I won't be saying to you afterwards, I told you not to do it. And we move on. If anything, my credibility becomes higher because you did it. It didn't work. But again, a good coach will allow that. I mean, obviously, if it's something that's going to be very detrimental to your business or, worse, no, you can't do it. And if you're going on that journey, well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you to date.
Yeah.
And that's, it's like any relationship. They're not necessarily forever, and they evolve.